Brutal lessons from my 300,000 divorce. I hope you're paying attention so you don't end up being used up by your wife like a horse. That rhymed. Goodness me. Let's get it.
$300,000 divorce with my Ukrainian ex-wife. A lot of people have told me maybe you chose the wrong woman. Maybe you should have checked for her red flags. Maybe you should have had a better hiring process when it comes to your wife. But I think regardless of who you pick, obviously we all want to have a family. Maybe you don't, but I do, certainly. Have a family, have kids, have this life that we all dream about. And when you're heading towards that, when you're working on it, you have to keep a lot of other things in mind, which are the lessons that I'm going to tell you, because you might fall in love with that person and disregard all the asset protection, all the legal sides of being in marriage or even cohabitation or having kids, because a lot of you don't want to be married. I probably won't get married again, to be honest, because it's just legally it's one of the worst things you can do if you're a wealthy man. But if you're going to live with a woman, if you're going to have kids with a woman, then you still have some legal repercussions, specifically if you have children, right? So she could take the children away, use them for ransom, for your wealth, or overall the legal system is against the man, depending on the country where you live. So I'll tell you the lessons that I learned. I lost over $300,000, as I said, with my divorce. Obviously, a lot of time, obviously, a lot of mental damage and overall affected my business, my growth, and everything. The first thing is that everything I bought before, during, every time in the marriage.
Don't tell me he bought everything under his name. I bet you.
I bought it in my name. And this is something that people don't think about. Maybe you're going to buy a car and you want to buy it fast. Maybe you made some money in crypto or something. You buy it in your name and done. What I would recommend is before you buy anything large, properties, anything that is luxurious, land, cars, whatever, before buying it, look at what structure you can set up to buy that piece of land, that property, that is not in your name. Because if you buy a car in your name, now it's in your name, it's registered in the government system, and now your ex-wife or your wife could potentially take it away from you, or it could be split, or you would have to sell that car and then split the profits 50-50 between you and your wife, because that's how it works in your particular country. And this is regardless of where you live. Because you might say, oh, just move out of Western countries. Yeah, but in some countries, for example, let's say you're from the US and you move to Dubai and you get married and you move your wife to the UAE. Now you're both residents of the UAE. So essentially you're both living in Dubai, you both have a residency permit in the UAE. She could file for divorce in the UAE and still use US law against you. So regardless of what country you're getting married, regardless of what country you're moving to, you want to keep this in mind. So before you buy anything luxurious, I wish that the car that I bought, the properties that I bought, and I was in Ukraine at the time. I really liked Ukraine at that time. And I was living there mainly for her, to be honest, before the war. I bought property.
This is crazy. Love made me blind. Love made me blind. He moved just to live. Oh my days, with the chick.
I bought cars. I bought everything in my name. Didn't care about putting a structure. Didn't even care about putting an LLC behind it. Absolutely nothing. And that's why I talk about Cook Islands Trust, or having a trust, so much. Because yes, it's a high price point. You're going to pay maybe $40,000, $50,000 to set up a trust in the Cook Islands, the jurisdiction that I recommend. But then that trust could own the properties, could own the car, could own everything. And a trust in the Cook Islands can pretty much own any piece of real estate or anything anywhere in the world. It's going to take longer. It's going to be a bit harder to do it. You're not going to buy a car in 2 days. In some cases, you can do it, and if it's in your personal name, you can buy it in 1 or 2 days. If it's under a trust, it might take a week, it might take 2 weeks, but it's a small amount of time to then prepare for lifetime, essentially. And this is not about trust. It's not about trusting your wife. It's not about finding somebody that you trust. Your wife could always turn back and use the legal system against you. Things can go south. You might cheat on her. You might do anything stupid, whatever it is. It's not about trust. It's not about finding the good woman. It's not about picking the right person. It's none of that. It's about protecting your assets, protecting yourself legally in case everything goes to shit in the long term. So what I would have done back then, I wish somebody would have told me this face to face and would have said, if you're going to buy all that stuff in Ukraine, the place where you're married, where the woman is a citizen of that country, regardless of where she's a citizen from, you're living in that place, set up a trust, and then with that trust, then buy the properties and buy the cars. And also, don't buy things in her name. This is what I did. I bought a property in her name because also what I would recommend is don't get into business with a woman and don't have financial decisions based on your woman. She wanted to invest in real estate in a specific region of Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. And she was really obsessed about this region. And I thought, I want to make her happy. I want her to be satisfied with me. Happy wife, happy life, and all that.
Wow.
And I bought that property in her name. Obviously, when she filed for divorce, that property was automatically hers, and I couldn't do anything about it.
Wow. Automatically. Because obviously, it's obvious it's in her name. But do you see the madness of what men... Oh, imagine he wasn't able to financially defend himself. If that was like his last money, all of that, yeah, I've got my investments and all of this decimated back down to zero.
Even with the best lawyer in Ukraine, nobody cared because the property was in her name. So also careful about buying assets under your wife's name. You might do this because you're in love. You might do this because maybe you haven't had sex in 1 or 2 weeks and she's using this against you. Sometimes it happens. You want to be very careful. Something else that I didn't do, another lesson, is I didn't hire any lawyers and I didn't properly study divorce, child custody law, separation law, anything like that. What you want to do, regardless of who you marry, where you marry them, you want to study divorce law, you want to study child custody law, you want to hire a lawyer, you want to hire multiple lawyers to advise you. And what you can do, which I would recommend, is to book a consultation, a paid consultation, because now you're in a client relationship with that lawyer and your wife can't hire the same lawyer as you. So what I would recommend, get the absolute best lawyer in your city or country and then pay them a price for a consultation. Maybe it's $100, maybe it's $200, maybe it's $1,000. Lawyers all over the world are much cheaper than they are in the United States or in the UK, for example. So a US lawyer might charge you $5,000, where a lawyer in the UAE or a lawyer in Europe or anywhere might charge you $200 for a consultation. And what you want to do, you want to have this consultation, you want to maybe sign an agreement, even though you're not paying them a retainer or anything, you're at least creating that client relationship so that your wife can't use the same lawyer as you. And you want to study divorce law and you want to study child custody law, and you can use ChatGPT for this, it's pretty good. You can just put child custody law in this country, explain it to me, what percentage of my income is going to be used as the child support amount. And also careful, because let's say that you move to a new country, and then you decide to set up a business in that country, and you have bank accounts in that country, and you make investments in that country, and you start moving millions through that country. If anything goes south, I'm a big proponent of caring for your children, spending money on your children, supporting your children, of course. But she might use that against you. The child might need $2,000 a month, but she's asking for $50,000 a month because she knows you make $1 million a month. And on a percentage basis, 50,000 to $1 million is only 5%. And because you have so many investments, so many things, so many companies in your name, you're moving so much money through your personal accounts in that country, she can now use that against you. And those $50,000, even though the child realistically only needs $2,000, she can use that to buy her Louis Vuitton purses. And this is not about hating women. This is not about, I'm not bitter. I'm only 27. I'm not a bitter man. This is just, I've experienced some things and I don't want you to go through them, because this can hurt. This can really F up your entire life if you let it.
Imagine you're in your 40s, man, and this happens to you. He's a young man. 40s, 50s, this happens to you, you're decimated. I've had the blessing of talking to so many men due to a job that I do, and above their 40s really, and the ones who've gone through divorce, they tell you it almost finishes you, if you get what I mean. Like, it almost finishes you. Wait, splat. It almost finishes you. Financially, mentally, spiritually, everything. So, men, you staring at me right now, be wise. Don't let love make you blind. Be wise. I've told you that 3 times. Wow, this is sad.
So study law, study custody law. Make sure you don't pass through too much money through your personal accounts. If you're buying property for a golden visa, for example, you can do that. You can buy property in your name because you kind of have to. But the rest of the properties that you buy, the companies that you set up, you want to be extremely careful if you're having them in your name, ideally under a trust or under an LLC of some sort. What I would also say is I got residency in Ukraine based on my ex-wife. This is something that I wouldn't do ever again, is moving to a country where your immigration and residency status depends on your wife or your girlfriend or anything. A lot of people do this. They move to a certain country, their wife is from that country, so they get a family residency permit. No, because now she has leverage over you. She can use that against you. If things go south, she can say, I'm going to call immigration, I'm going to get you deported. This has happened. And you're always dependent on that person. You don't want that leverage over you because she can use that leverage over you to then get money, to then get assets, to then get anything. There's also some psychological plays. I will never do that again. If I'm moving to a country with a woman because her family's from there, because we're going to have kids there, because anything, I am going to get residency by myself. Either there's a golden visa, or I can set up a business, or I can have some contact there that can give me residency or hire me, anything, but not through a woman. I highly recommend you. I know this might sound stupid. I know it's an easy way to get residency somewhere, just marry someone, but now they have leverage over you. That might push you to get married actually. So you might say, oh, I'm never getting married again. And then you meet a beautiful woman and she's from Czech Republic or whatever, and you want to move there with her to be with her family and to raise kids and so on. And now you decide, okay, let's get married because that's the easiest way to get a residency permit, and then you are effed. So don't do that. Then other things is that I invested way too much in my ex-wife. If your wife is consistently asking you, oh, please buy me this, buy me that, buy me this luxurious thing, buy me this, buy me that, buy me this, buy me that. That then gets you into a loop of buying things for her. And that's how she got me to buy property in her name at the end. So you want to be aware of this. I'm not hating women. I'm not saying you shouldn't invest into a woman, but the more you invest, the more she expects more investment and more and more and more. So buy me the Birkin, and then buy me a car, and then buy me some real estate, and then buy me multiple pieces of real estate, and then it just keeps compounding. So you want to keep that in mind. It's all psychological plays, and you want to be very careful. And the last thing that I will say is that she used her beauty and her sexual appeal against me because she had leverage over me. So imagine all the leverage that this woman had over me. I moved on a visa for marriage. So I moved to Ukraine based on a visa for marriage. So once she had the immigration leverage. Then she had, because I was buying so many things on her name, because I was buying so many things for her, then she had the asset leverage. I also was buying everything in my name, all the property, all the cars and everything. So then she had the, we're going to get divorced and I'm going to take half your assets leverage. She had so much leverage.
She's a professional. Wow. Absolute professional. Like, I'm inclined to say that she's done this before. I mean, how can you be that evil and good at it, essentially? I mean, everything, every box, tick, 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 gotcha. Oh my days, brutal lessons from my 300,000 divorce. I hope you're not being used by a wife who treats you like a horse and abuses your money, leverages your time, and before you know it, you don't age like fine wine. You age like rotten milk. And she took all your money and drank it like silk. I don't know why I'm rhyming and rapping these divorce bars, but goodness me, man. This is truly, truly shocking. I mean, I'm telling you right now, you're going to fall in love, no problem. You're going to meet a woman, no problem. But please, have your finances in check. You don't want to end up, you know, Ronnie MP's doing a reaction video to you. You've been warned. You've been warned. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Is he wrong? Was the woman right? And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Like, subscribe, do.